Hello, this is Claude Fulinfo for Brisbane, and I am started to read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, as you probably have seen a few other videos of mine. And chapter 1 is really exciting. In fact, it's prior to chapter 1, the prelude into the book, that has got my attention. And so I've decided to blog about this book as I read it, because that's a fantastic way for me to learn. And as I'm going through the pages in chapter 1, Robert Kiyosaki starts to drill into the concept of financial literacy and why it's important, especially for young people who are entering school, finishing school and entering college, to start to learn what makes money rather than how to spend money and how to make money work for you. He goes on to talk very, very specifically that the schooling system does not really contribute to people using skills and knowledge that have been gained in school in the real life out there. He says that most people go to school to learn from the schooling system that has fantastic computers, big labs, but the chemistry and the physics, most people do not use that in real life. What we need to learn is real things around the dining table from mentors that can help us. But unfortunately, most of us, and as you read the book, you'll realize that our parents are simple, hardworking, office-going people who have learned from their parents and their teachers concepts that are really outdated and cannot be used in today's real world that is so fast changing that people are made redundant simply because they've not kept up to the times. Most probably you have heard the term escape the rat race. And you probably have seen on Facebook the wheel that spins with a rat inside trying to keep upright. So what does it really mean? The rat race is about life. How do we get into this race and we run it right till the end before we die, and we feel that we've not accomplished most of the things that we have wanted in this real world? Let me explain as I pick up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and if I've made you understand what I've learned, then I have really learned the lesson properly. Because after all, I have started to write this blog post more so to teach myself, and in doing so, maybe I have taught you as well. According to Robert Kiyosaki, parents teach children when they're young that getting a college degree is the most important thing for them to get. Without a university degree, my parents used to tell me that I would find it really hard to land myself a good job and get by in life. Everything was based around this job. Now, have you ever been told that while you were growing up? Or if you're a student now, is that what your parents and teachers are telling you? So what do children do? They follow the teachings of their parents and their teachers to get the good grades at school. Because after all, the college education is going to get them the career that has been promised to them if they study hard. Surprisingly, most young college students will pick a career that someone around them has inspired or motivated them to go after. Quite often, it could be their dad, an uncle, an aunt who has inspired them, and by following the father into his plumbing business, the son can then take over the father's business when the father retires. It's the same when an aunt who's a nurse inspires her niece to get into nursing because of all the lovely stories that are spun around the nursing profession. Now, nursing is an honorable profession, and certainly go for it. But learn the concepts that how you can use money to make a life instead of just being part of the system and not knowing how things get by. So if you're a student in Brisbane and thinking of going to college or are at college right now, find out why you picked up those subjects you're currently studying or you're about to get into. Because the next few lines, as I'm going to talk about here is going to help you to think twice about what you're studying and how to use what you're studying, or possibly find a mentor outside your college who can teach you how to become successful in life. So you start studying at college in Brisbane, and I'm talking about Brisbane because I live in Brisbane, and soon the next 4 years is going to slip by, and soon you'll get that coveted college degree that you've been striving for. Certainly, mom and dad will be among those proud guests in the auditorium at graduation ceremony, and pictures will be taken. Your parents will be able to boast that you have become a doctor or an engineer, and how proud they are. Can you imagine that? Now, what they haven't done is to see if you can get a job straight after graduation. The expectation is that you will get a job, and most probably you will. So with all excitement, you put your best Sunday suit on to go for the interviews, and you try your best to land the best jobs around. But as you get into the real world, you're competing with working people who are applying for jobs to further their careers as well. Certainly there are unemployed people who will be applying for the same job, as well as the retrenched people that are being retrenched with the downsizing in Australia. Just think about that. Think about the competition for just one job that you have studied possibly about 18 years, and now you have to fight for that job. But you're lucky because as you've landed the job, and you've got a pretty good job because you did study hard, and you've got the latest knowledge because you've just finished school, and you probably have got the knowledge that the employer wants, and he might want you more than the other experienced people because he can give you far less income for what you are going to contribute to his organization. Just think about that. It's what your parents had planned so far, but they hadn't planned that you'd be fighting for the job that the marketplace is about to give you. So as you move forward, you start to work and you start to create a social life around you. Now that you're working and you have a job, you have money to spend. So you go to exotic places, you go for concerts, buy branded items, and play the scene that life is cool. As you socialize, you meet someone at a club or a party and fall in love and get married over the next few years. So life is exciting, and with excitement you start to plan a home of your own as you plan your family. Now as there are two incomes, you can manage to pay the house repayments, and it just gets good. It all seems to be a happy ending, and it all started off with getting a good college education. But as you start a family, the bills start to accumulate. You start to leave early morning and you come back late at night. The children keep you awake at night. Life isn't the same anymore. Things get tight when one of you have to give up your full-time job and stay at home with the kids. So what do? Maybe you have to pick up some extra work, stay back late at night, and that's going to cut back into your family life. Maybe you have to work back at the weekends. Somehow you have to get that extra money that the other partner in the family cannot bring in. Those fancy overseas holidays are thing of the past, and how you long for them. Forget those branded clothes you once wore. Now you shop at Target or any of the cheaper stores in the shopping center. Can you imagine how your life has slipped away? Yet it all started off studying so hard for that college degree, and you thought you had made it. But soon your children start to grow up, and they are about to enter college. And you start to mentor them exactly as your parents did to you. You say similar words to the next generation that study hard as your education is about to get you the job soon. Can you see how life has come full circle now? You are saying you're saying the same words your parents said to you 25 years ago. Can you imagine what you are trying to do to your children? Do you want your children to have the same life that you created for yourself just because you followed your parents' advice? Just look at your parents. Do you envy them? Do you envy the time freedom they had when you were growing up? Did they have extra money to take you to exotic places as a child? Or were they able to take their mind off expenses? Or were they constantly worried about bills and just surviving? Now look at your life today. Have you mirrored your parents or have you not? Most probably, you too have no time freedom, no money freedom, and are tied down to your job. You're scared that you would lose your job with the downsizing that's happening in Australia today. So if you have a child today and the child asks you what they should do, teach them things that your parents did not teach them. Read books. Read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Because after all, they should not follow what you or your grandparents followed because the world is changing. If you're a young person, think twice what your college education is about to give you. Because what they're going to teach you is not going to help you create the dream life that you really want for yourself. If you do, you'll get what your parents got. This is the rat race of life that Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you want to escape the rat race, then certainly pick up the book today online and start reading it. Click the link below this video to learn more. I would appreciate if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I thank you very much for listening to this video. This is Claude Fullenfo from Brisbane, and I'd love to share more as I learn through the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Thank you very much.